After a very lengthy series of qualifiers across continents, we now finally know all the teams that will be at the 2026 World Cup. And well, that also means that we also know who won't be there. The anticipation for this particular tournament is very high, and we expect to be thoroughly entertained, but all that will have to happen without some very big names who will very much be missed. Who are some of these guys we are referring to here? We'll find out in this video today. These are 10 world-class players who won't be at the 2026 World Cup. We'll start with Robert Lewandowski. The 2026 World Cup was set to be his last ever as a professional footballer, but he was denied that opportunity by Sweden, who defeated Poland in the playoffs final. Lewandowski helped Poland get as far as the final after his equalizer against Albania helped the Poles mount a comeback in the semi-final fixture. But despite being the better team in the away game against Sweden, Graham Potter's men were the ones who grabbed the ticket thanks to an 88th-minute winner from Victor Gyökeres. Having seen him at the last two editions, fans were hoping to see the Barcelona man on the biggest stage one more time before he retires, but as it appears, that will not be happening. He will be 42 by the time the next World Cup comes around, and we just don't expect that he'll still be playing for the national team at that time. Another world-class striker we won't be seeing at the World Cup is Victor Osimhen. Unlike Lewandowski, his fate had already been sealed months ago when Nigeria failed to get past DR Congo in the CAF qualification playoffs. What this means is that the former Napoli man's wait to kick a ball at the World Cup goes on, and he will not play a single World Cup game throughout his 20s, as Nigeria also failed to qualify for the 2022 tournament. For a player of his quality and status, that is just unheard of. He has been one of the best strikers in the world over the past few years and deserves to be playing on the biggest stage in world football, but despite being the third highest goal scorer in CAF qualifying, Osimhen will not be at the World Cup this summer. Still talking about African stars, Bryan Mbeumo will also not be at the big showdown this summer, as he was unable to inspire Cameroon to World Cup qualification. The indomitable Lions of Cameroon, just like the Super Eagles of Nigeria, were stopped by DR Congo in the CAF playoffs. Mbeumo, who was at the 2022 tournament with Cameroon, will not be featuring in this year's edition and will surely be a big miss. Up next is Christian Eriksen. The 34-year-old midfield maestro came close to heading to another major tournament with Denmark, but that was snatched from him right at the death. Denmark fought back against Czechia twice in the playoff final, but they eventually lost on penalties, with Eriksen being the only Dane who converted his kick in the shootout. But perhaps one of the biggest headlines is the fact that we won't be seeing Gianluigi Donnarumma at the 2026 World Cup. He is easily one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now, and in fact, one of the best of his generation. He has won the Champions League, played for different great clubs across Europe, and has even won the Euros with Italy, but he still hasn't had a single taste of World Cup football. Italy had failed to qualify directly after finishing second to Norway in their group, which meant that they had to go through the playoffs for the third successive qualifying campaign. And just like in their previous two attempts, they have failed to qualify through that path. This time around, they lost to Bosnia and Herzegovina on penalties, which instantly made them the first ever World Cup winners to fail to qualify for 3 straight tournaments. But of course, we could not make this video without talking about Alessandro Bastoni. The Inter Milan man is a world-class player, no doubt, but many are of the opinion that he is the sole reason that Italy won't be at this year's World Cup. The Azzurri took an early lead in the playoff final against Bosnia thanks to a Moise Kean strike, and they looked rather comfortable. But then Bastoni picked up a red card in the first half, and that changed the entire complexion of the game. With the numerical disadvantage, Italy just could not hold on. They lost their lead and could only hold out for penalties, where they were rather disappointing. Italy scored only 1 of their kicks, while Bosnia scored all 4 of theirs to head to the World Cup for only the second time since they became an independent nation, while simultaneously confirming what is set to be at least a 16-year absence from the World Cup for Italy. Let us now talk about Krycha Kvaratskhelia. Georgia were at the last Euros, but they won't be at this year's World Cup as they failed to secure qualification. Unlike the other nations we've spoken about in this video so far, Georgia did not even make it to the playoffs. They finished third in their group behind Spain and Turkey, which meant that their World Cup fate had been sealed since last year. Over the last few years, Kvara has shown that he is a man for the big moments, but unfortunately, he won't be there to light up the World Cup in North America this summer. Speaking of big game players, Dominik Szoboszlai is proving to be exactly that for Liverpool this season, but we won't be seeing his skills and versatility on display at this year's World Cup as Hungary failed to secure qualification once again. They actually came close to snatching a ticket to the playoffs, but a 96th-minute goal from Troy Parrott in the final group game dashed those hopes, meaning that the nation's 40-year absence from the competition will extend to at least 44 years. It also means that we won't be seeing Szoboszlai's Rockets at the World Cup this year, which is something we'll definitely miss. We'll also miss Jan Oblak's insane reflexes and world-class shot-stopping as his Slovenia side fails to qualify for this year's showdown. Slovenia were hoping to return to the World Cup this year for the first time in 16 years, but they finished third in their group behind Switzerland and Kosovo. Interestingly, Sweden, who finished last in that group behind Slovenia, have now qualified for the World Cup thanks to UEFA's interesting Nations League pathway into the playoffs. Anyway, Oblak's wait for a World Cup appearance goes on, and at the age of 33, he might have one more chance to make a push for that. But as far as this year is concerned, that dream had been put to bed months ago. Now, another world-class player we won't be seeing at this year's World Cup is Rodrygo. Of course, Brazil have since secured qualification for the tournament, but the winger won't be in Carlo Ancelotti's squad because he is out injured. He tore his ACL in March, which is expected to sideline him until September, so even though the Seleção will be live in North America in the summer, Rodrygo won't be able to participate. Now, two honorable mentions here are Neymar Jr. and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Of course, there's still a possibility that they'll be at the World Cup in the summer. They're both fit and their nations have secured qualification, but looking at how their coaches are treating them, they just might not be there. Tuchel preferred to call Ben White out of Exard in addition to Tino Livramento instead of Trent ahead of the preparation games in March. With Reece James expected to be back in time for the World Cup, we really don't see Tuchel changing his mind and calling Trent up. As for Brazil, Ancelotti seems bent on not taking Neymar to what could be his last ever World Cup, and despite the immense pressure from the Brazilian media, it is looking like he just will not cave in. The fact that there is still a small chance of these players being at the World Cup is why we haven't put them on the list, but their situations definitely qualify them to be honorable mentions. Now, which of these players do you think will be the biggest misses at the World Cup this year? Are there more world-class players we won't be seeing at the big showdown this summer? Drop their names in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.